In today's economy, more people than ever are looking to buy and sell businesses. But how do you do it? Welcome to the Deal Board, presented by Transworld Business Advisors. Straight talk about real deals and real people. Listen to stories, interviews, and expert advice to help your business sale, merger, or acquisition process. Now, here are your business exit experts, Andy and Jessica.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deal Board. And today we have an industry specialty show that we're really excited about. And it's about the fashion industry and clothing industry. And people might think that that industry is dead. We've heard it, before. It certainly has made huge seismic changes over the last few decades. It used to be a huge manufacturing right here onshore, and then that has all moved offshore. And then it used to be through big department stores, but now it's pivoting again, right, Jessica?
Yeah, I mean, it's made a major pivot, and you've seen a lot more of this direct to consumer model and a retail pivot. I mean, you have companies like Rent the Runway that have blended this, online company versus now they're opening retail stores. So still a very big business. It's just had a lot of innovation and change, but there's a ton of opportunity out there.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity, especially for entrepreneurs and people who want to do business cross-border deals. And we have some amazing guests today that talk just about the amazing opportunities that are out there in the world in the fashion industry. I interview Catherine Schepis. Kathy, as I know her. I do know her personally because I grew up with her. She's actually my first cousin, but she graduated from the Fashion Institute of Technology, and she's a heavyweight. I mean, in the fashion industry, she worked for Saks Fifth Avenue, Anne Klein, Liz Claiborne. She was with Doncaster, which was talk about pivoting. It was a company that sold like Avon or like, Tupperware, that they used to come to your home and do fashion shows, and multi-million dollar company that is now in the process of pivoting itself. But Kathy is now doing her own thing, and she is on the American Fashion Podcast. She has amazing guests on that podcast. You should check it out if you're into the fashion industry. You want to see more about the opportunities. But then we have another star that's coming on, right, Jessica?
Right. We have, I mean, an amazing and inspirational woman, Emmee, who is a supermodel and best known for her plus size model work, but also, she's been voted like the 50 most beautiful people in the world, most important woman in America. And she's a big spokesperson and ambassador for the National Eating Disorders Association. But also now she's pivoting and she's working on her fashion line that she launched, as well as a spa line. So Andy was able to talk with her and talk about what they see in the fashion industry and what's going on there. So two incredible interviews if you're in the fashion industry or looking to get into the fashion industry, of insights of what's going on in that market.
And we still see good sales out there. I mean, fashion based businesses, we could think of clothing stores, we could think of distribution and wholesale companies, we could think of importers, we could think of people just starting their own fashion line. We've sold some of those businesses before, and they, go for some of the regular multiples out there. But, what are you seeing out there?
Well, I mean, when you look at, distribution companies or manufacturers, you're looking at 2 times SDE in terms of valuation, or 4 times EBITDA, which is about average, right? But there's still some variation depending on, like we've talked about quality and quantity of earnings. And then the retail stores are pretty similar, right? So we're still seeing about 2 times, 2 times SDE, or 3.5 times EBITDA. So there's still really good value on the retail and distribution slash manufacturing side of the fashion industry.
Yeah, and there's still tens of thousands of retail outlets out there. And as we spoke to Michael Ziff, and we spoke with Michael here on La Solis Company, we talked about that the pivoting of the retail is kind of trending toward these independent. Everybody's looking for, something that isn't sold everywhere. And Emmee talks about that, how she's supported people that Kathy talked about how she's interviewed people from all over the world, getting, sourcing direct things from and empowering women overseas and with specialty trade. It's a fascinating industry, and there's plenty of opportunity. And if you build a business, it's going to be valuable.
Definitely valuable. I mean, you've seen lots of success stories too in the fashion industry of really looking at the delivering something that's unique and personal, and also like really niching into a specific segment of the industry. So I think there's a ton of opportunity out there if you're looking to start or buy a business in this industry segment. And hopefully today will give you a lot of good advice to go down that road.
Yeah. So let's get to it. I think it's going to be a great show. We have two amazing interviews. These are just, if you just like talking to entrepreneurs or talking to industry experts and hearing all kinds of stories, two great interviews today. So it's a really good show.
Transworld Business Advisors is the world's largest business brokerage and mergers and acquisitions firm with over 500 brokers in nearly 200 offices worldwide. Transworld's team handles thousands of business sales every year. To be connected with a qualified business broker or learn more about the buying and selling process, visit tworld.com/the deal board or call 888-719-9098.
Hey, everybody, we're back, and we have a very dearly beloved guest for me. Her name is Kathy Schepis. She was with Lean Canvas Advisory, and she is the co-host of American Fashion Podcast, and she's also my first cousin, which means I do love her a lot. But that's not why she's here. She is one of the foremost experts out there, and she's got her finger on the pulse of the fashion industry. And we were just talking before we got started, and there could be more opportunity right now, right?
Absolutely. Andrew, I'm so excited to be on here. I think podcasting seems to run in the family.
Yeah, it does. It does. It's great.
So, yes, opportunity. I mean, where do you want me? Where should I start?
Well, I mean, you've been through a lot. So, I mean, you've been through the big chain stores. You've been through the big manufacturer. You've been through a unique manufacturer. So, why don't you give a little bit about where have you been and where you see things going?
Okay. So I've had a long career and one that I've loved very, very much. I spent time at Saks Fifth Avenue. I spent time at Liz Claiborne and Klein Collection, always in executive positions, managing design, merchandising, in some places production as well. And then I went to a direct-to-consumer company, which I was there for a very long time. I don't really want to get specific, but I was president there for a number of years. And to me, after having left the garment center and going to this direct-to-consumer brand, it was such an incredibly unique environment. You know, this model, obviously everybody is talking about direct-to-consumer today, but when I started at this company, which I guess was 1998, and the company had been formulated, the name was Doncaster, and it had been formulated in like 1939.
Wow.
And we sold clothing by appointment, and it was totally a relationship business. It was all about that relationship of the stylist with the consumer. So we produced a line of clothing for her, and it was all about giving her superior quality in service and in product. So fast forward to where I am now, and I left there, and you know, it's so many years of having worked in a corporate environment. I felt like it was kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Like you come out and it's like, oh my God, the world has changed so much.
Right.
And something you talked to me about, you said today you kind of wanted to concentrate a little bit on, you know, is this a good environment right now for entrepreneurs? And I think it's just absolutely never been a better environment.
Yeah, I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, and you've had some pretty incredible entrepreneurs on there.
Well, you know, so here's the thing, and we have a lot of people on, and this is American Fashion Podcast. We have a lot of people on that I had never heard of before. You know, and having been kind of in the luxury space, I guess I always concentrated on the larger names in fashion, and yet there are so many people that are creating big businesses. And a lot of what's helping them is the fact that there is very much a supportive environment, I think, between new business owners as well as between mature businesses and young businesses, like being really willing to help a young business get started. And I think there's a level of collaboration that's never existed before. Like, for example, I work where we do our podcast. We do it in a studio, and it's called, it's an open workspace, and it's called Voyager. And in this particular workspace, they have brought together all people that have to do with the travel industry. They're developing apps or websites or whatever. And so they are all kind of working together, even though they're all individual brand owners, and then they bring VCs in at particular times. I mean, it's like the exposure that you can get, and I don't think this is just I don't think this is only happening in New York. Am I right?
No, I agree. It's Silicon Valley, Austin. I mean, every city wants their like incubator space. Even here in South Florida, the universities are in the game of trying to grow incubators, companies, and actually get a piece of the action. And and we were talking about this a little bit before, and I heard you talk about it on your podcast as well. Is that the social media has given individual entrepreneurs reach like they've never had.
Like never. So we recently had someone on, her name is Sarah Flint, and she's making beautiful shoes, and most of them are made in Italy. And when she started her shoe brand, she wanted Cindy Crawford to wear her shoes. So she sent her a direct message through Instagram. So she sent the shoes to Cindy Crawford, and Crawford is now a partner in her business.
Wow. that is incredible.
Her business is really big right now. When you hear stories like this, it's kind of like if you have the passion, and the ability, obviously, to strategize your business, you can get exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, yesterday I met with somebody who is, she had her own business, and now she's doing a stylist business, right? And she has her own YouTube channel. Her name is Tracy Gold, and she gives like fashion tips for women that are over 40 years old. She has 20,000 subscribers. She's had 1.7 million people visit her site.
Wow.
So she's taking that. Now she's also teaching other people how to do SEO optimization. So that's the other thing that I find amazing, and I don't remember that existing in the culture when I was growing up, in this business. I feel as if everybody was more competitive. So she's willing to teach other people, and she's also ended up making she's created almost another mini business for herself that generates revenue.
Right. And it is changing fast. And, and these companies get bought, right? So, we do talk about buying and selling businesses. There's opportunities to buy small businesses and turn them around and, and sell them for a lot of money. I mean, we've had a couple guests on our show that built, a makeup brand, and they sold it for a ton of money, and they built it on Instagram. So
love that.
Yeah. And you had the, and the world is flat, right? So it's so international these days. You had somebody on that was leveraging crafts in, I forget where that was.
Susan Hall, Charleston.
But
she was based in Charleston, North Carolina. Is that right? And she brings in like artisans from all around the world. She's like supporting women's brands.
It's incredible stuff. Just incredible. So
there's someone else we had on, and she is from a company called Big Lives. Her name is Sam Alston. So what she is doing is bringing together brands that are only digitally native, and then she is doing almost like a traveling trunk show. She collaborates with sponsors, for wine and for food, that because they get exposure at her shows, they donate this kind of, donate the food and whatnot. And so she'll have like 8 designers, and she'll set it up in a brownstone environment and have music and so on. It's like a floating store.
Wow.
It's like it's the time where you can be really creative.
So,
And the other thing is I think just one more, to how people are thinking out of the box. Did you ever hear of American Giant? It's like a activewear company, and they're based in San Francisco.
no.
I think the business is only like 6 years old, but he's already gotten a couple of $100 million in funding at this point.
Wow.
He was an ex-finance person himself. His name was Bayard Winthrop, I think. And he, born out of frustration for not finding the perfect sweatshirt, he created what he thought was the perfect sweatshirt. And then, through someone he knew somehow on social media, they got it out there and this thing went viral. And he immediately had orders, for like 30,000
Wow.
of these sweatshirts or something. This was like pretty big when it happened. And, it took him 6 months to produce it. And now he only does production in the U.S. But now fast forward down the road and he has this big business. What he's doing so that he can, he wants to be able to engineer all of his products so that it is as perfect as that sweatshirt. And he brings in not only designers, but he brought in engineers from Apple.
That's crazy.
So that is like, oh my God, like just thinking about, bringing that kind of thought process in to a creative process and how they can exchange information is just.
And the whole distribution model has changed as well, right? So sourcing and then selling is just, where, whether it's Amazon or whether, how you sell your wares. And, we do have a brand that we'll probably talk about on this podcast about that's selling on Amazon and it has been very successful in selling on Amazon, but there's obviously people are going direct now too, right?
Direct to consumer? Absolutely.
Yeah, they have their own website. Yeah, and they distribute themselves, right?
I think, people, it's a hard way to start. You have to kind of have a pretty big network. This is almost where I think the model that I worked with makes sense. Like you hire independent contractors to help to sell your product.
Right. Because
a lot of businesses, like a Warby Parker, at a certain point when you need to scale, you need some stores.
Right.
That's kind of what they found. So I think everybody's trying to find like the secret sauce, so to speak.
All right. Well,
on how to grow the business the right way. But for me, I don't believe that, not just for me, but retail is not dead.
Of course.
And I think that there's so much happening in smaller independent retailers. It's the more traditional stores that are going out because they or having a hard time because they can't get out of their own way. It's almost unbelievable. Yet you have some stores like a Nordstrom's or a Macy's that are starting to do things that are out of the box. And then small independent stores that are really concentrating on like, how do I do something more exciting for the customer?
Yeah, we've seen that.
For you, I would think, I'm sure you have a lot of retail stores, and that's not just apparel, right? It's anything.
It's anything. And, we did a whole episode on retail and, Michael Ziff, who's over in London, and he talked about how the big retailers are getting crunched and, the low-end retailers are getting crunched. But it's those independents and the luxury and, people who still want to touch, feel, and see something different. And he said there's going to be opportunity. And when those people are moving out of their space, it creates opportunity like you do see, like these collaborative spaces, like people doing different things to, move their products. So it's all good stuff. And
yeah, and I think, just the way small stores are multi-brand stores, as you bring up collaborating, and there are a few of them here, it doesn't have to be a single owner in an independent store. What's more brilliant is to have, I think, 2 or 3 owners. You know what I mean? So that you are really working together, and there's just a different kind of energy. Because no matter what, customers appreciate and understand. I know it's an overused word, but an authentic relationship.
All right. Well. So that's what you're doing at Lean Canvas Advisory, right? You're helping these people kind of navigate all these orders.
Yeah, and I think, something that's really, Whoops. Did you hear that? Because on my phone an alarm just went off.
No.
I think what's really important is that companies that have, I want to work with brands that have also been in existence for a while, mid-sized brands.
Sure.
Because I think, kind of leaning into their strengths, so to speak, but really helping them to refocus. I think it's just as important for companies that have been around for a long time to think like entrepreneurs. And so what I want to be able to do is kind of bring in a fresher perspective.
Great.
And I have partners also to do, other things, to include podcasting. I mean, I think podcasting is also really big for large organizations in terms of branding.
Yep.
It's like, how do you can use internal corporate podcasts to communicate to people. Actually, I mean, in franchises in particular.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
That's what we're doing here today. So.
What's that?
That's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that is so perfect for, people to understand your mindset and how you think and how you have grown like such an incredible business. I mean, and that's inspiring. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So, well, thank you for coming on today. How best can someone get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you to hire you, or to have to perhaps suggest someone for the American Fashion Podcast as well?
Yes, actually, for both, just go to leancanvasadvisory.com and you can email me right through the site.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was fun.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
I'll see you soon, cuz.
Hey, Andy, you know what time I think it is? I think it's time to talk about our deal of the week.
Deal of the week.
Sold.
Hey, we're back with Deal of the Week, and we're with Todd Albaum from Trans World Charlotte. And Todd has a really good deal that, a lot of times deals come together and it's just kind of magical. And so Todd has a good example of that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Andy, it comes down to timing and being at the right place at the right time, and not just being at the right place at the right time, taking advantage of the opportunity. So right place, right time. We get an internet call that came into our office, and Jack and myself were on that call probably within 30 minutes of it coming in right away. And it turned out that we were not only the only agent who had called him back, but we jumped in onto a marketing appointment within 2 days. And we actually were an hour early for that meeting. It was a 9 a.m. meeting. It was a 10 a.m. meeting, and we got there at 9 a.m. Inadvertently, it worked out just fine. Beautiful office, and what it comes down to is the type of business this was. It was a medical spa called M2 Medical Spa. And there's one thing I have to tell you about Charlotte, North Carolina, especially South Charlotte, is vanity wins. And I knew that. I'm looking at the inside of this business. It was beautiful. It had the shuang fei, whatever they call that, shui feng. It had all the right things going on, and a really nice owner-operator who was a physician's assistant. So Jack and I sat with him in his office. We had a wonderful meeting, and Jack looked at me as the go-to guy for him because I did have a couple of listings at the time in that same space, that same medical practice space. Built trust right away. It's all about trust. It's all about being relatable. And it was just maybe 2 days after that first appointment, I walked in there and walked out with a signed marketing agreement. But it was challenging. The challenge was I had to find a doctor. In this particular, we could have found somebody else, but it would have been a workaround, and I didn't want to go there. So it's all about writing a very compelling listing and getting the right people to respond to it. And now you have a smaller audience, but you got the right audience. And I worked the audience quite well. We found a local doctor in the area who was looking for a business like this. He came in, again, that shui feng thing. Immediately it was curb appeal. And we worked back and forth with him and went through the due diligence process. It turned out to be a cash and seller financing deal, which would expedite the deal as well. We had a motivated seller, And we had a tremendous buyer who really gave us his time during that due diligence where we really were put to the test. But at the end of the day, it closed within maybe 4 months of its listing. I was real happy at the closing. We had our mimosas as we usually do. And to this day, I bump into him from time to time. And it did sell for just about $500,000. Thank you.
Great. Sounds like a great deal. Todd, how best to get in touch with you if there's another medical spa or business like it that wants to sell?
Or any business. I'm reachable at T Albaum at tworld.com, part of the South Charlotte NC Transworld family.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.
Hey, we're back, and we have a very special guest. Her name is Emmee. She's an incredible entrepreneur. She is a TV show producer, author, fashion model, clothing designer. She has a line of clothing called Clothing by Emmee, and a spa line that she's coming out with called Emmee Spa. And I probably just said those two things wrong, so she can correct me, but she's a dynamic person, a public speaker, met our dear friend Eric Strauss in New York during one of his productions. And welcome to the show. I just, you do so much, so it's going to be a fun conversation.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate it. Nice to say hello and very nice to join you on your podcast. Podcasts are wonderful.
Yeah, I saw you had some yourself, but you've kind of moved on doing other things as well. So why don't you talk about, how you kind of got into the industry and, how it's changing because, the fashion industry, and there's so many opportunities that, people sometimes think that certain industries are dead, but I just see them pivoting and all kinds of great things going on and opportunities for lots of people to get involved.
Well, Andy, the fashion industry, as we speak, is going through a pivotal time. A lot of the retail stores, the brick and mortar stores, are closing down because everything is going online, and it's shaking the industry to its core. So some people might say that it's fading out, oh, what's going to happen? But I see it as the greatest opportunity ever to really reach your customer and to give her or him the greatest customer service you possibly can. And whether it's through innovative scanning technologies to help the clothes match up with the body shapes of the individual buyers so that there's very few returns. We have a $62 to $63 billion return issue in this country alone. And
wow.
That's enough to make your toenails curl if you're in the fashion industry. So that and free shipping has been a couple of the factors of why the fashion industry has really been taken to its knees. But the convenience of just a click of a button and then returning it because there's free shipping has really given an opportunity to an online push that is very, very wonderful. But people, all women really like to be able to touch and feel and go shopping. So we haven't seen the fashion industry totally shutter their doors at all. In fact, it's as I said at the top, it's time for really out of the box thinking. And one of the things that I've been working on for about 30 years of my career, I've done a lot of the modeling, but one of the most important parts of my career was to hear what women were saying, not only in our country, but around the world about their bodies. And because my background is in reporting, I was an NBC affiliate reporter prior to being a model. And I've always been very, very curious. So when I started hearing that women that were much thinner than I was, speaking about their bodies in ways that were sometimes more horrific, if not, and I realized that it wasn't a size issue that we were going through in this country for women, body image and self-esteem, and problems with when someone wanted to wear XYZ, no matter what size you were, we were going through our own body image issues.
Sure.
And I started delving even deeper, Andy, and said, well, wait a minute. Why are women that are above a 12 or 14 really so upset what's going on here? So when I started working with department stores, a lot of department stores would put the clothing for full-figured women next to maternity.
Oh.
And I'd be like, are you kidding me? Or they would be next to the fast food station, or, you know, all these really strange, or in the basement, you know, with the horrible lighting. And when you start to think who's buttering your bread, or who's really supplying major sales with your accessories, when you can't find clothes, what are you going to do? You're going to go buy really good accessories, bags, shoes, scarves, jewelry, accessories, all that kind of stuff. So I started thinking, well, why can't we make clothes for women of, whether it's luxury, whether it's moderate, whether it's, discounter? Why don't we really do it right so the fit is right? If you have the right fit, it's going to stay in her closet. So fashion design schools have classically, in all their design labs, they have forms that are in the size of size 2, 4, and 6. Well, how are young designers supposed to learn how to create clothes for size 14, 16, 18, 20, and up women if you don't have those forms to work with? And to also work with the straight size forms. So it's a matter of proportions. It's a matter of draping. It's a matter of just really not making it a big deal, but making some small adjustments. And I said, my gosh, I don't know how to sew, but there's a real problem that can be solved if we are compassionate and open our aperture of what this education is going to be. So I founded with Syracuse University Fashion Without Limits, and they have had Fashion Without Limits and inclusive fashion education now for 6 years. For the first 2 years, it was only a 2-year program, and now starting for the 3rd year in a row, it's a full 4-year program, because they saw that the students were really, really into being able to design for their family, being able to design for a majority of women, as well as women who are below a size 12. I said, there should not be a line. Let them all understand what it is, so that when these young people go out into the world, if a designer or a line or a department store asks the designer, do you know how to do from size 0 to 24? And it would be so fantastic to hear that finally, in a generation of time, we're going to have young designers saying, no problem, that's no problem. So that all women can go to the office, go on dates, go to special events, be comfortable, not only in their skin, but how they reflect their personality in their life. So that's something I've really been excited about. And you can find more about that on emmystyle.com/fashion without limits.
Well, that's incredible work. And as a father of 2 younger daughters, they're in their 20s now, and understanding body issues and all those kind of things, it's just it's incredible that society is really waking up to this.
Slowly but surely. I have a saying Andy, that slow change is lasting change. And if you have quick, fast change, I don't know, it just seems like the pendulum will swing way too far on the other side. But if you just keep on plugging away at something, and you just believe that, compassionate understanding of the rights of people to clothe themselves in a nice and affordable way, and sometimes luxurious way, depending on what money you can spend, that should be, almost like a God-given right. It shouldn't be just for the exclusive that have tons of money to pay for something to be done as a one-off.
Right.
So, there's a lot of room there to go in and make money in the full-figured market, but so many companies have tried to size up from an 8, which won't work. I'll just tell you, you'll have the highest returns you'll ever have, and you'll never get back in the business. Or they get in thinking that they'll only make a ton of money off of women who are above a size 12, but they don't have the right marketing behind it. They don't really talk to her heart and soul. They really don't have their sleeves rolled up and getting in saying, listen, I don't know anything about this market, but please tell me, reaching out. If you just get in, you make the clothes, you know what? It's rolling the dice. It's not really investing with her. When she sees that there's companies, brands that really want to understand what she wants, she will be the most loyal customer, buying not one pair of pants, but 3 in a collection that comes out that looks nice. The fabrications are good. So, yeah, she's seen it all.
Yeah. So what's, you've started a couple lines, as an entrepreneur out there, and is it getting partnerships? Is it getting with the right stores, with the right manufacturers? Like, what's kind of the tips if you had to help budding entrepreneurs get into the fashion world? What tips would you give them?
Well, budding entrepreneurs getting into any business, you've got to be able to pay your rent. You've got to be able to get food on the table.
Sure.
So you've got to have a day job, as well as, doing the hustle to get the sponsorships, to whether it's sharing your story, sharing your tips, whether, it's talking on panels or speaking engagements, and consulting. There's quite a bit of hustle involved in that. Getting into the fashion industry, I would say to that entrepreneur, whether you're a budding designer, definitely learn about the full figure market and have an inclusive line. It might be more expensive up front, but if you'll get more lift with media if you are an inclusive line. Do your research, because it is a tough business right now. It is really tough.
Yeah, we're seeing some entrepreneurs. We've sold some businesses that have been online sales, and some of them leveraging Amazon as well, which is a whole nother story for another day. Starting an Amazon business and working with Amazon has its ups and downs as well. So yeah, so I'm sure you've been there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So so what's in the future for you? What's next? And what do you see coming up?
I'm going to be down in Miami at the Carillion Spa and Resort, talking about being in the present moment. So there's a holistic side to my life that I try to live by, is being in the present moment. And I meditate, and I like essential oils and retreats and massage. I used to be involved in holistic health. And so a part of me that gets nourished is to do these retreats at these beautiful spots. And then I have the Emmee Spa line that's going to be put into size 0 to 24 in different spas around the United States, in different parts, travel destinations in the world. So that's a part of the future. And I'm in development with a production company for a really fun makeover show. Now, I really love the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy.
Sure.
The Queer Eye makeovers on Netflix. I just love them. They're wonderful. And I had the first makeover show back in the early called Fashion Emergency. And it was like the mother of all reality shows and makeover shows. We had to beg, borrow, and steal people to get them on TV, because no one wanted to say that they didn't know how to dress. Now everybody's like, please make me over. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing that come together and jump on a network that we're in discussions with. So it's good. It's all good. And my daughter's going to college and going to Syracuse in the fall. So I have more time to be able to devote to the entrepreneurial spirit that I have. Yeah.
So, and we see that a lot. In fact, my wife's looking to do something, and she does, counseling, and she gets involved with nonprofit work as well. And so, as your kids get older, like mine, you look to do something else in life and other projects. So that's all great stuff. So, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or buy some of your clothing, what's the best way to do that?
Fantastic. They can go on to Instagram and follow me, Supermodel Emmee, and it's SuperModelEmmee. And you can go on to Emmee Style, and that's my website where you can reach out to me. There's contact me pages there. That's EMMESTYLE.com.
Oh, great. So nice. That is great. Thank you so much for coming on today. It's a great look into an entrepreneur, a self-styled entrepreneur, groundbreaker, social activist. You've done it all. So thank you so much for coming on today and giving us a little bit of insight into the fashion world. And it really is so much more than that. So thank you so much.
You are welcome, Andy. Good luck on your podcast, The Deal Board. Love it.
Hey, Jessica, you know what time it is?
Money time?
Almost. It's time for Listing of the Week. Hey, we're back with Listing of the Week. And we have a very special guest. Of course, they're all special, but we have Pete Sheehan from Trans World Business Advisors of Hauppauge on Long Island. And we are here in New York. And yes, we're talking about the fashion industry today on today's podcast. And we have a listing of the week for a bridal salon. And we have sold many bridal salons. It's still a very good niche in the fashion industry to make money. So Pete, why don't you tell us about your listing?
This listing's pretty unique. It specializes just with brides, no bridesmaids, strictly brides themselves. So it has a lot of growth potential if someone wants to get into the other end of the industry. The owner is very ill, must sell the business. So it is priced right. She's asking $299, does over $1 million in sales. The inventory alone is almost $400,000. So it's a very, very profitable business. It's in the heart of Manhattan, midtown Manhattan. And I think with the right owner, can really take this to the next level.
Great. Sounds like a great business. And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
They can call me direct at 516-639-2465 or P. Sheehan, SHEEHAN at tworld.com.
All right, great. Thanks for coming in today, Pete. Thanks for tuning into our show today. If you like the podcast, don't forget to subscribe through your favorite podcasting app and leave us a review. If you have questions or suggestions for the show, visit us at tworld/thedealboard or email us at thedealboard@tworld.com.